Hey there, everybody. Joe here. Good to see ya. I painted this mural at White Dove Coffee right here in Flagstaff, Arizona. If you want to come see it in person, that's where it is. The two things that I think have been the most helpful for me pertaining to getting my perspective to look natural. The two rules. One, percentage above horizon. Every object, you want to think about its percentage above horizon compared to its percentage below horizon, which is also your eye height, the horizon. Okay, and then the second one is that flattening. We're just going to call it flattening because I don't know what else to call it. Flattening is curved toward infinity. Okay. In my mural, you can see a horizon that is roughly across the center, and any object that is above my eyes in my imagined scene needs to be above the horizon. Simple, right? But it's really easy to forget this. It's not just randomly above the horizon. Let's say I want to see a cliff like I drew. I've got a cliff here off in the distance. The percentage that this cliff is above the horizon is the percentage that it is above my eyes. It's really important to imagine how high you are in your scene. Imagine how high you are. If I want to put a house in my scene, if my eyes are as high as the door on the house, then I'm going to put the door right here. So let's say that I'm imagining this house is a tall house and the height of my eyes is a quarter of the total height of that. So there's 1/4 of the house below my eyes, 3/4 above my eyes. Okay, then, maybe it's going to be like right here. Maybe just 1/4 is there. Without understanding this rule, you might say, oh, I want a big tree in my picture, and you might just put it right here. And you already staged your picture with the house to be as though you're at the height of the front door. So why then do you have a giant tree right here below the horizon? That's not going to make sense in your picture. So it helps to just think about this from the beginning. So my giant tree will be like this one. If it's close to me, I'm not even going to see the top of the tree. I'm just going to see this lower part of it where it hits the ground. This is going to be my tree. I can draw a giant tree, but that giant tree needs to be at a distance where it can fit. So let's put a giant tree behind the house, and we'll say that this tree is 10 times my height. No, let's say 20 times. Do you see the trunk, my crooked tree trunk? Look at the amount below the horizon, right here, okay? The amount that's above the horizon. Here we go. I put a huge tree in my picture because of the percentage that is below the horizon compared to the percentage that's above. Okay, let's put some foliage on this tree, and I fit the whole tree in my picture still. It just needs to be far enough away that we can see it. And doesn't that make perfect sense? Okay, simple enough, right? Okay, here is another really helpful thing to remember, and that is that the flattening effect on the earth, the ground, water, anything that has a flat surface and you can find its horizon somewhere. So again, let's put a horizon. The flattening effect is exponential. So back here, everything is really, really scrunched together, super scrunched together, because the distance is approaching infinity as you approach a horizon. The distance along the surface that the horizon pertains to, applies to, is approaching infinity. So if the distance is approaching infinity, then the number of objects that can be seen at any given space is also approaching infinity. So it's an exponential increase to get that perspective to look natural. So think about it this way. You know, let's put another person. We've established that things at eye height are at the horizon. Okay? That is, if you're looking parallel to the horizon, like many pictures are staged. They don't have to be that way, of course, but this is for the sake of understanding. Okay, we've got a person standing right here. There's my little stick person. And we're going to put that person twice as far. Well, this is simple. There's a basic ratio that if something is twice as far, it's going to be half the size. And that's just a rule of a triangle. Because if we put a person right here, and we're going to go halfway to the horizon right here. Okay, we've got our arms and we've got our legs. I went twice as far. I'm half the size. This is how perspective works. Every time something gets further, it gets smaller, and it has that ratio to it. So if I went half the size again, right here, well, this person is once again twice as far as this person, who is twice as far as this person, and this person is 4 times the distance of this person, because the distance directly affects the size with that ratio. Think of your field of view coming out of an eyeball. So if I have an object right here, and then it goes twice as far, here's 1 time the distance, 2 times the distance, it's now 1/2 the size according to the field of view. So if I go twice as far again, okay, I'm going to take this distance from here to here and double it right there. We're going to go here, and we're going to have to change these angles. Extend these lines. Okay, so right here, if we make that same size rectangle roughly at that distance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And so it is 1/4 the size according to the field of view. See, when we look at a landscape, we have a field of view. So my field of view includes a lot more things way back here on the horizon. And so if I go halfway to my horizon, here's my person. I go halfway to my horizon. This is any given distance. Let's just call that distance 1 meter. It's just 1 meter. That's all it is. Okay, if I cut this distance in half, that's going to be 2 meters. Okay, but then what if we don't go halfway? Let's make it a little harder. What if we just go like 1/3 of the way to the horizon? I'm estimating that 1, 2, 3, it's about 1/3 of the way to the horizon. Let's draw our little person for a visual. This is 2/3 right here. We have these 2/3 right here of this space. So all I'm doing is identifying that I went 1/3 of the distance to the horizon. 1/3 of the distance to the horizon. I've got 2/3 left. Flip that ratio upside down. It's 3/2. So this size right here is 2/3 the size of this person, and the distance is 3/2, which I think boils down to 1.5 times, So this is 1.5 times the distance of this guy. This person is 1.5 times the distance of this guy. It's just for understanding. I don't think in art we need to do a lot of calculating. It just is helpful to understand how the relationships are working. Okay, this is the last thing I'm going to show because I think it's cool. So as size is linearly shrinking, we're going to put a road here. We've got a road in our desert. We got mountains like this. The road kind of squiggles up like that. Okay. Well, we go off to a theoretical horizon that's somewhere behind the mountains. As the size is shrinking linearly, and what I mean by shrinking linearly is that it's at this constant rate of change. The size is approaching 0 as we approach the horizon. The size of my road is approaching 0 as I approach the horizon. However, my distance is approaching infinity as I approach the horizon. So if we were to graph that out, let's just make, we're going to go left to right, and we're just going to go across and up. And we're just going to start at some random size and make it linearly go down to 0 as it approaches horizon. So this is going to be horizon right here. But as distance increases, the distance can also be at any random place to start with, wherever it is. But it needs to curve because it's approaching infinity, and we can never get to infinity with a linear change. You see, this is why we have what looks like a curve. It's because it is in fact like a curve. The angles are changing just as they change on a circular shape. As I go to the edge of that circular shape, angles change, and that's a curve. And so the angles change when we look out here. When we look out here, we're looking parallel to the ground. When we look here, we're not looking parallel. We're looking almost adjacent, 90 degrees to that ground. So we're going to make a curve. The distance is approaching infinity. Like that. We're just going to say that this line becomes completely vertical by the time it hits the 0. I just think that is the coolest thing, that a curve here represents actual progress toward infinity, where linear change represents no progress toward infinity at all, because no increase in amount represents being any closer to infinity. It's a weird thing. You know, I love to just drink coffee and just let my mind boil over and get overwhelmed at the concept of infinity. It's kind of fun to think about. But how cool is it that we have curves and circles, round objects that are this really interesting illustration of what it's like to approach infinity.